Ways to stop your microaggressions from a verified black chick. Hello, my name is Jalen Haygood, and today, listeners, we're going to discuss something very important today. Something that's been on my mind for a while. And since people don't like to use our good friend Google to educate themselves, I decided to help you guys out. I'd like to introduce my foolproof guide on checking your microaggressions towards black people. I've been thinking a lot about this, and I finally got the approval from my manager. So let's get into this before I get fired. But before I get started, I'd like to clarify what microaggressions are. A microaggression can be an action or statement that can be regarded as discrimination against a marginalized group. Or, in my own words, I call it passive-aggressive bigotry. Now let's move on to the rest of the show. Tip number 1. Don't wear culturally sacred clothing, hairstyles, or etc. for aesthetic. I feel like people need to understand that not everything is for you, especially when you just do it for the aesthetic, the look of it. A good example of this is non-black people wearing dreads. I believe black people would have no problem with this if we still weren't getting criminalized for our hair. But alas, racial discrimination still exists, and there are still people that think dreads, locks, or braids are messy. I believe it's a lot more respectful to admire and learn more about the item in question, instead of just adopting it because it looks cool. Tip number 2. Don't ask an ambiguous black person, "What are you?" It can actually apply to any biracial person. Saying this is just outright rude. Firstly, it sounds dehumanizing. Secondly, it's a very random question to ask if you don't know the person well. And finally, it's just a tad bit racist. Before you ask something like that, maybe think, why am I asking this? And if your answer is, "Oh, I was just curious," think about why it's any of your business anyway. Wait until someone is comfortable telling you about their ethnic background. Otherwise, just stick to normal people questions. Tip number 3, don't act black. Now, this is a big one. Black people aren't a costume you can try on when you find it fun. We are real people that don't appreciate it when someone has a black scent just because they grew around black people. Bad Baby and Aquafina profit off the persona of this accent and personality, and it's honestly not okay. Especially when there are regular black girls that act like this, but it's white people that pull this off that get a record deal. Tip number 4. Saying a black person speaks well is not a compliment. Commenting to me that my English is good is not something that would brighten my day. It's not something that I'll tell my friends about later, and it's definitely not something that'll make me go, "Oh my God, I just got validated by a white person today." Tip number 5. It's okay to call us black. What I mean is that it's okay to address black people as black people. Not every black person on earth is an African American, and the abbreviation to that term really just rubs me the wrong way. It makes me feel like I'm separate from the average American. Now, if a black person prefers that term, then respect their wishes. But saying black people is not a cuss word you need to be scared of saying. I actually feel like people are more scared to say black people than the N-word, and that's not okay. And that will wrap up today's show. I hope my audience can learn something from this and use some of these tips in their everyday life. Maybe you can even make the world a better place. Hopefully. Other than that, listeners, have a great day, and Jay is signing off.